you know, often when it comes to things like as well as and participle clauses, I say to people, they are complicated and easy to make errors with. And they don't make your writing sound any better. They're not really any better than and, or just using the right tense. Okay. But despite, I think it is good. I do agree. I can understand why you guys want to use it because it sounds better. It does sound better than but. It does feel like it fits into a professional, semi-formal or formal style better than but or although. So it is worth practicing. It's worth learning. Now, what do people do with despite? They do this. That's what they do. Okay. Can you see something that these two sentences have in common?
Yes, they have verb clauses.
Yeah. They've got two clauses, haven't they? Okay.
Yes.
So they've got two clauses. The first thing we see is that you can put despite at the beginning. That's fine. Okay. There's nothing wrong with starting a sentence with despite. But I think it was Claudia. This
Yeah, it was me.
is not correct. What does this say?
It says non-clause, so we have to avoid despite with a verb clause. We have to change
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
These are verb
Remember,
clause.
let's go back up. Verb clauses are when we have a subject object plus a verb. The referee had a heart attack. Okay. He does not have any money. He is a subject. Does not is the auxiliary. Have is the verb. He has support. He is a subject. Has is a verb.
No, but who is Paul here at the first sentence?
Say that again.
He was a subject, but who's Paula here in this?
Paul and he are the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Another way you could do it, you could say Paul is happy despite he does not have any money. Okay. Mr. Smith is not making progress despite he has support at home. So I'm seeing a lot of errors here. This is the big error. Okay, that's the big error. Now, from a sentence structure perspective, I'm not upset. I'm not really upset. If somebody does this, then it makes me think, okay, they are using contrast and they do understand the relationship between the two ideas. Can anyone explain why it's a contrast?
Yeah, for the
Because generally people be happy when they have money.
Yes, generally you're happy when you have money, and the opposite of that would be if you don't have money, you're not happy. That's the idea of this sentence, isn't it? Okay.
Contrast we can use for positive and negative to come in one sentence.
Well, in
opposite.
This is not a direct contrast, is it? This is not direct. Paul is happy, but his mum is not happy. That would be a direct contrast. This is an indirect contrast. What we're doing is we're associating happiness with money and a lack of money with a lack of happiness. And the second one, if someone has support at home, we assume that they make progress.
should be making progress.
Yeah. So, and in this case, he's not making progress. He has support at home. He's not making progress. So that's why these are a contrast. Now, first thing is, I don't want a comma when despite is the second clause. Okay. So, comma when despite, oops, is first clause. No comma when despite is second clause. Is it a big problem? No, not really. It's not going to change the understanding, but we don't want it here. Okay. Despite can go at the beginning. Oops. Of first clause, or
Middle.
In the middle.
second clause. Now, Claudia said earlier on that we can't follow with a subject verb. We can't follow with a verb clause. We have to follow with a noun clause. So just have a think for a moment. What would I do with these sentences? Just think. You don't have to tell me yet. Just think. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Okay, 20 seconds. Don't share anything yet. And then I'm going to ask Akhtar. Akhtar, are you there?
Comma.
Hello, Akhtar.
Yes, teacher. Yes,
Hi,
yes.
Akhtar. Okay, so can you see why these sentences are not correct? Hello, Akhtar, are you there?
For me is correct because despite with first clause by now, start by noun, Paul is happy and comma.
Well, Paul is happy is okay. That's a verb clause. We always have to have one verb clause in a sentence, but despite is followed by noun clauses.
This is not correct.
It's not correct. So this here, we have to change the verb into a gerund. So what's the verb in this sentence?
Despite not having.
It's this.
Have,
It has to become a
have.
gerund, yeah. So despite not having. Ta-da! Now it's perfect. Now it works. This is a great sentence now. It was that simple, a small change. It's the same here.
Now I catch what you mean, yes.
There it is. Okay. Akhtar,
Yes.
what would we do with the second one here? Find the verb. This is the verb, isn't it? What's the gerund? Akhtar, just Akhtar. What's the gerund of this verb?
As being.
You're making it too complicated. We just have to do the same as here. Despite
Having.
Having.
Having support.
Despite having support at home, Mr. Smith is not making progress. Mr. Smith is not making progress despite having. Fatima, have you got a question?
Yes, we are converting one clause into a noun and the other one is still in verbs, subject, verb, and object.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just remember that you always have to have at least one verb clause in a sentence. Every
All
sentence has a verb. So if we think about it, this is the verb. You don't have to put the despite bit, do you? You're adding that.
All
You
right.
have to have, this is the first sentence. This is the main clause, isn't it?
Okay, thank
So you have to always have one verb clause. Just, it doesn't matter what linker that you use.
Okay, thank you.
So let's do another one. Okay. Paul ate an early lunch. Paul had a huge breakfast. Now, is it because? Does because work there? Paul ate an early lunch because he had a huge breakfast?
No.
It doesn't make sense. If you have a huge breakfast, do you have an early lunch?
No.
No.
Not normally.
No.
Okay, so let's do it together. Despite. What's the verb?
Eight.
Paul had a huge,
Having
having huge lunch.
A huge
Huge lunch.
Breakfast.
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 comma.
All
Paul
Paul
eat early lunch.
eat.
8.
Early lunch.
Okay. Now let's look at it the other way. Despite having an early lunch, Paul ate a huge breakfast. Does that make sense?
No.
No.
It doesn't, does it? Doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Because breakfast is first and then lunch.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this can't be a surprising result, can it? Because lunch came after breakfast. So that doesn't work in terms of the order of the sentence. We can't do it that way. But this is really good. This is fine. Now we just keep using the same verb, but it could be eating. Despite eating, Paul had. Here's our noun. Here's our noun. Here's our noun. It's the same pattern over and over and over again with despite. Okay. This one just doesn't make sense because it's not the right order. The grammar's fine, but it doesn't make sense. It's illogical. Let's do another one. Okay. Let's say, okay, Mr. Johnson. Is that a total knee replacement?
Yes.
Okay, total knee replacement. Mobilizing 2 days. Now, total knee replacement, mobilizing 2 days. That's a bit surprising, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a quick recovery. Very quick recovery. Okay, so you're very surprised, aren't you? Now, let's just say that the verb is undergo. Because what is TKR?
Total knee replacement.
Operation. It's operation.
It's an operation, isn't it?
Surgery.
Yeah.
And that's the verb, isn't it? That you use with operations. You undergo operations. So I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds. Type it into the chat box, please. Type into the chat box. I'm going to pick some sentences at random. 20 seconds has just started. Just had 20 seconds, guys. Fusun and Ismail, you're absolutely right there. Well done, Ismail. Thank you for the correction. Okay, I've got a sentence here. Okay. People aren't using the verb that I want them to use, though. It's not nothing wrong with have. Okay, nothing wrong with have, but I do want a different verb. I think yeah. We've got a bit of a problem with some of the tenses here, haven't we? And some of the other little bits. No one wants to use undergo? No one likes the verb to undergo? Okay, let's have a look at this one. Okay, I've got a lot of sentences here. Let's have a look at these ones then. Let's give them a little one of those, and we'll also make them black. Okay, despite having a total knee replacement, Mr. Johnson is mobilizing in 2 days. It's interesting. Everyone's gone for is mobilizing. Is mobilizing. Mobilize soon. Interesting. Okay. This one I think is the best that I can see at the moment, because the tense is not a problem. But you'd have to put here, you'd put is mobilizing after 2 days. After 2 days. But I like despite having, that's good. I am mostly interested in the sentence structure here. Despite having, okay, that's good. Mr. Johnson is mobilizing again after 2 days. Very similar sentences. Despite, give me the spelling. Despite having surgery, he mobilized soon. He mobilized. Now, that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Subject-verb agreement should be he mobilizes, but that's a bit weird. He will mobilize soon, you'd probably say. Mr. Johnson's, comma. No, we don't need that. Mr. Johnson is mobilizing despite having surgery 2 days. What should it be instead of earlier?
Before.
Ago. Okay. Very common mistake that people say before and earlier. But if this is mobilizing, when is that?
In the past.
Now.
Now. It's now. It's now.
Think about it. Yeah. This is now. It's happening at this point, like this. So if that's now, then anything that was in here is the past, isn't it? That means it's ago. That's what we use. We don't say before, we don't say earlier, we don't say previously, we don't say prior. Okay, we're talking about the past simple. Okay, so 2 days ago. Now look at this one. Despite undergoing a total knee replacement surgery, Mr. Johnson mobilized after 2 days. All in the past. That's all in the past. There's only one small error. Can anyone find out what that error is?
Should be had
Position after in 2 days.
No.
Undergone.
Was
Mobilized after 2 days.
No.
after operation.
Underwent.
Undergone.
Oh, operation.
Is surgery countable or uncountable?
is a total is without the a.
Yes. Okay. Surgery is uncountable. We don't need an a. But I really like this sentence. Okay. Really nice. For everyone, to be honest, there were a few other little errors, but I know what you were focusing on. You were focusing on despite, and that's brilliant. So these sentences are good in terms of the architecture, terms of the structure. Okay, we've got good commas. Okay, commas are pretty good. I'm happy with this. Okay, so the structure's good. Despite, noun phrase, comma, verb phrase. Brilliant. Good work. Now, quick question. Put your hand up if you can tell me the difference between. Well, actually, go on, Mary. You got your hand up. Have you got another question about this example?
Yes, yes, I would like, I need your help because I write my sentence, despite underwaiting TKR 2 days ago, Mr. Johnson is mobilizing now. Is it correct or not?
The only problem is there's no such word as underwenting.
But it's past because it's 2 days ago. How I can do this?
Underwent is the past. Okay. Undergoing is a noun. So there's no tense.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So you can't apply tense to adjectives or nouns, just verbs.
Yeah.
And as soon as you put that as a noun, you don't have to, it will just reflect. It's almost like it becomes the logical tense that the verb clause needs. So because it says Mr. Johnson mobilized after 2 days, that's the past, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we know that this surgery had to happen before him mobilizing. So we know that this is also the past, but we don't have to reflect that in our clause.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Right. So Fusun, before surgery. Well done. Good work. Now, put your hand up, guys, if you feel confident that you can tell me the difference between despite and in spite of. Put your hand up if you think you can tell me the difference. No? No one feels confident about that.
They are the same, totally.
I'll tell you the difference, Ismail.
Okay.
Despite's got one word,
Yeah.
and in spite of's got 3 words. Yeah. Despite doesn't have of.
Yes.
Yeah. In spite of is not 1 word, it's 3 words. In spite of is not 2 words, it's 3 words. So despite and in spite of, there seems to be probably about 5 or 6 errors that are really, really common that you should avoid. Those errors are, oops. I'm gonna put my heater on again, guys. Common errors. Okay. No verb, no noun clause. Despite he has. Okay. Unnecessary commas. Before despite in the middle. Okay, that's not necessary. Missing commas. Well, so that's despite.
First at the beginning.
Okay. And then we've got these ones. Despite of. And we've got in spite. And we've also got all of it together. Okay, these are the main errors that we see for despite and in spite of. And I promise, guys, that if I asked you to write 20 sentences and we reviewed them after the first 5, we would see all of these errors. But then the last 5 between 15 and 20 or 16 and 20, you wouldn't see these errors. Okay, so it's definitely something that you can improve and you can